to the live button. Okie doke, it looks like we're live. This is Julie Zommers from Truly Madly Deeply Happy, and it's great today to be once again talking to Alison Monahan from happysoul.com. Hey there, Ali.
Hi Julie, how are you?
Yeah, really good. I've had a great week. How about you?
Oh, good. Sorry, there's a reminder to turn the phone off before you start.
Well, now everybody knows we're not perfect, don't they, darling? So I was going to ask you, Ali, just for those of you who don't know, Ali and I are both EFT practitioners, and we both are also matrix re-imprinting practitioners. Ali's also a trainer. And so the idea of this on the couch is to get together and just share with you what we'd normally share just with ourselves, just have a chat about breakthroughs that we've had with clients, or what's been happening with our work, so that you can be encouraged, perhaps, if you hear a story that resonates with you, to try out EFT. And you can visit either of our websites. We'll be telling you all about that at the end. So, Ali, you recently ran your first retreat, which I think's blooming amazing. So I just wondered if you could sort of tell us, what happened on that retreat, and what was the experience like getting it ready? Was it your first time, and also just sort of breakthroughs people might have had on the retreat?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share my excitement. It was a seed that I suppose I planted in my mind some time ago, when I first got to know about tapping, and I thought, it would be nice to bring a whole load of people together outside of the training, the formality of training, and use EFT in a different setting. So I thought, I'd love to run a retreat. And at first I thought about Bali, and then I thought, no, I think I'll go in small chunks and I'll stay with Australia first. So basically it was sort of something that's been in the pipeline for a while, and looking at it now, I can't quite believe it's happened, and it all took place, and it was quite an amazing experience running up to it as well. And I think partly that's because I do work on myself quite a lot, and I was clearing some of the fear that might have been coming up. And remarkably, when I first put it out there, in my sort of marketing arena, if you like, I didn't have a really wobbly moment, but I thought, I wonder if anybody will come. That natural feeling of, I'm setting this up, and will anybody like me? Will they know I'm there, and all of that? And then I think it was after I sold 3 tickets, and I just thought, I had a real knowing. I thought, this is going to sell out. And the really nice thing was that it's that thing, Julie, about, as cliched as it is, it's kind of the law of attraction. My thoughts were going out there. My energy was going out there, basically with, this is all going to be fine. Whoever comes is supposed to be there. Who doesn't come is not supposed to be there. And I just had a knowing that it was going to be fine, and it was going to be great. And I think I let go quite early on the fear of it not working out. And some of that was also my ego, of course, and, will it be successful? And, I kind of kept dropping into my heart and going, I just want to create a lovely space for women where we can do a whole combination of nice little things, including, tapping and, excuse me, sorry, one moment. Oh. Sorry, just bear with me a sec. I think we're going to have to start again. I'm really sorry. That's really, really unfortunate. I gave him. Okay.
We probably don't. Like a lot of people watching have got kids. You just want to go and say something to.
we can. Beg your pardon, everybody. That was my little son who popped his little head in for a moment.
We can just keep chatting if you want to speak to him, or we can just continue. It really doesn't matter.
This is kind of what we love, isn't it, Julie? This is real life. If you just give me 1 second and have a little chat, I will just remind my son that I'm just busy for a minute. Just bear with me a sec.
Okay, so I'm just going to keep chatting, everyone, and while Ali's off, reading the riot act to her son, no doubt. We both work. We've both got home-based practices, and the realities are that sometimes you do get interrupted, and sometimes when you are doing one of these recordings, you do forget to switch your phone off. We're human. I'm really looking forward to hearing, what's happened with Ali on the weekend that she had. I know we had lots of chats, and I remember the nervy, sort of nervous feeling chat that we had the night before the retreat.
Ah, yes.
Really
Hello,
good.
I'm back. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
really good for people to know that I've been telling stories about you while you're not here. But it's great for people to know that, you know, when you're trying to help other people, or when you're setting yourself up as, you know, in that position, there's quite a lot of expectation that you're this perfect person, you got your whole life handled, and that you never worry about a thing, and you always up and never have self-doubt. And, you know, it just ain't the truth, because there's not a human being on the planet that's like that, as far as I'm concerned. Too true, Ali?
Absolutely. And it's so funny. I completely forgot, of course. You were quite amazing. I do remember, of course, now, you know, like, oh, and those wobbly moments, you know, I had a little bit of that on the retreat, but you were great, you know, just before that. And that was that big surge of, oh, it's happening. Is this really going to be okay? Am I really going to pull this one off? You know, are people going to be happy? You know, I need to please everybody, you know. And yeah, it's just quite amazing as humans, like you say, when we put ourselves out there as people to support others, which is great, and we love doing it. You know, sometimes we just kind of forget our humanness in that as well, and we're all normal. We all stuff up, and people love seeing you stuff up a little bit too, because it normalizes it. Normalizes it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, certainly the people I follow are the really most rawly honest ones too. You know, if somebody's telling the same old story, you know, I started off living in a cardboard box, and now I live in a mansion, and it was really easy. You know, it was a tough road, but here I am, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Just give us your $5,000 and I'll show you. I'm really cynical about that these days, because I think, you know, I like the really raw, honest people who offer programs that are affordable and just, you know, just seem to be really coming from a great place that I can relate to. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to your weekend. So, so what was the format? Was it like really formal, or did you have like every hour allocated, or how?
No, it was. I did have a framework, of course. I needed to have that to keep, obviously, feeling like I was, you know, for want of a better word, in control of the weekend. And I say that loosely, because if, you know, if I didn't have a plan, it could all have gone a bit pear-shaped. So I did have some structure. But what I wanted to make sure, which was really important, was that I offered people what I said I was giving them, which was some time for doing some tapping together. And I offered opportunities for us to have bushwalks, which was great. We did tapping and bushwalking, which was really good. Little meditations on top of the hill. And we had amazing food prepared by Jane McDermott, who I know that you know, and she's a beautiful soul. And she was also a great support to me. And what else did we have? We did some creative visualization. As I say, we did some meditation. But what I really, really wanted to do was make sure there was downtime. So it wasn't just every minute of the day was taken up with a back-to-back activity. Because personally, I find that quite intense. You know, you go on, I've not been on many retreats, but I have been on some things where it's like you don't feel like you've got enough time to relax. And the place where this is at Yanada, near Wiseman's Ferry, is so stunning, Julie. It's beautiful. So I gave them opportunity to just have an hour off, doing whatever they want to do, just chill out around the property, have a little nap, lie down. But, you know, everybody, and there was an option to come into any activity or not. There was no, you know, need for people to be, okay, you've got to come here for this session. And actually, over the 2.5 days, it went so smoothly and so quickly that it didn't feel rushed. It was just, sounds a bit, you know, like I'm not bigging myself up at all here, but it just went so well. It just went smoothly.
How old were the women?
How old?
Yeah, like what was the
Yeah,
rough?
so age ranging from early 30s through to now, I think, sort of late 50s.
Okay. And did you find that like friends came together, or did people mainly come individually, or you know, how did that?
Yeah, there was actually 3 couples who came together. Three. I mean, it's obviously a women's retreat, but 3 friends, like who brought their friend, and the rest were people who had heard of me and thought, well, this sounds interesting. A couple of people had never even met me. Actually, a few of them I hadn't even met. So I think there was a real trusting, Julie. There was just some kind of universal trusting that it would all be okay, because there were some ladies there, one particularly I can think of, so sweet. She really challenged herself by coming on her own. You know, she was coming to all these women and didn't know anything about them or really that much about the weekend, and just trusted that it was the right thing for her.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting to bring that up, like for anyone who's watching or listening, because, you know, a lot of the time people don't go to places because they think, oh, you know, I won't know anyone, and, you know, what if I lose it emotionally, or, you know, feeling a bit fragile. Of course you're going to feel like if you haven't got a friend who sort of knows you, you haven't got that familiarity. It does take quite a lot, but my experience with retreats and things I've been on is that, you know, half an hour after you've arrived, you feel like, hey, you take a little while, it's a bit quiet at first, but, you know, by the time you say hi to a few people, everybody's in the same boat. That, you know, the reason why they're there is because they want to, you know, lead a lovelier life than they're having perhaps at the moment, or, you know, they want to let some more peace and happiness into their lives. So, can you tell us about did you have any sort of breakthroughs with people on the weekend? And, you know, me saying that, I'm not saying there should have been, but, you know, sometimes there really are massive breakthroughs, and sometimes it's just more subtle. What was your experience?
I think firstly my experience was that there was a real awareness for most of the women that their lives are so busy that they've kind of forgotten how amazing they are. And that was the whole intention for me, was to just, you know, the intention of the retreat is all about self-love. So it's coming together in a space where they can just take stock again of where they're at, and are they taking care of themselves. So there was, throughout the weekend, there was a real awareness of, actually, I'm okay, and if I'm not okay in this, then, you know, we've got the tools to start working through it. And it's like an opening weekend, Julie, as you know, that some things we need to obviously keep chipping away at. So there was a real space for people to explore their feelings, perhaps for the first time in a while. And so there were some people, especially when we did the group tapping, that definitely were shifting through some feelings of anger, frustration, and, you know, upset about where they are in their life, and starting to acknowledge that, because I had them make little notes and things. But there was a couple of people, one in particular, a lady who she has been tapping, and she was really quite taken aback in the group tapping, and this is what can happen, of course. Something really big came up for her, and she was kind of knocked off a perch a little bit. And, you know, I was there for her, which was great, and the group continued to tap, and we kind of unraveled something, and it was quite enormous. But she said at the end that she just felt like she'd lost about, you know, 3 or 4 kilos and felt so much more at peace. And that wasn't doing an hour's one-on-one with her, but that was the energy, I think, of the group as well. You know, I went over and supported her, but we were all together, and we all made like a contract of being there for one another. So there was a real healing space for her. And then shortly afterwards, I spent, you know, a little bit of time with her to finish off what we'd started, because I obviously didn't want to leave it raw. And she's now continued to do some more one-on-one work with me. So for her, it was, I think, really quite a breakthrough to realise that, wow, I've really got to start looking at some of my stuff. And this is what she's doing. So I think I really love the fact that, you know, if nothing else, I've given an opportunity for women to start to understand that they can move through stuff, and that they don't have to be stuck in that way. So, yeah.
No, it sounds fabulous, and it's like a doorway, isn't it? Like, you're behind the door, you want to open the door, but, you know, from my experience with clients too, they're scared to open that door because they think it'll open a can of worms, and, you know,
that's right.
They'll just, you know, it's easier to stay here than it is to, you know, you sort of peek in and see, well, I wonder what my life would be like if I didn't have that big, heavy sort of...
that's it.
But, you know, human beings are interesting because we'd rather have the familiar, even if it's painful, than you know, stepping out of our comfort zone to get to the other side. And on the other side of that door often is just the most amazing serenity and, you know, just a new way of being. Because, you know, as you said, it was all about teaching them to love themselves.
Yes.
So many of my clients, when they come, they absolutely loathe themselves. And, you know, I think, you know, the work that you're doing is amazing on those retreats, because sometimes that saturation of a weekend really sinks in and helps them make that decision. Right, that's enough. I'm really going to get going on myself now, and I'm going to see if I can find a happier way of being.
Yeah, that's right. And there was something else I didn't mention before, which I'd like to just mention is, you asked kind of what things we did on the weekend. Another really nice thing that we did was, the vision boarding, which was another tangible thing that they could take away, something they created about self-love. So, we had a really lovely session where they're all just, listening to music, cutting out all things that represented, what it means for them to take care of themselves. So
Nice.
They've got that reminder, wherever they put it in the house, and it's like when I've done vision boards before. Amazing, aren't they? They're so powerful, because you look at it and the energy again that you feel about it, that sends out a new message to the universe that you do care about yourself and that you do deserve these things. So I just think we're such powerful beings, but in our events that go on in our life that we see as really awful, we kind of lose sight of that and we forget. And sometimes it's as simple as just like you and I chatting now, reminding each other that we do fall off our perches, like, I'll share this with the audience now. We had a bit of a spit, didn't we, Julie, before it started, because we got frustrated again with trying to set it up. It's like, we're human. We're human.
I've got this lone fly here that's just... Every time you say fall off the perch, all I can think of is that Monty Python sketch. And it's
hilarious.
I listened to this really good thing by a guy called Mike Dooley in the last couple of weeks. And just to get back about your vision boards, it was really, really interesting because he's been one of those guys who encourages people to do that for a long time. And people come up and say, oh, well, it didn't work. I've had this on my vision board for ages and ages and ages. And his take is that it's not the specific thing. It's not like cutting out that picture of the house and that's the house you have to get, or that job in that particular firm. It's just really to get your creative juices flowing and to let you know, this is kind of what I want. This is kind of the picture I want. I want a really creative, fulfilling work. It doesn't have to be that firm working for that guy. And I found that really interesting because a lot of people do think they fail with the law of attraction. But as he said, as long as you've got broad goals like creative, fulfilling work and shelter and a nice place to live, you're really never going to be failing as long as you're taking a step in that direction. And he saw the vision boards as simply that. Simply just, look, still working towards it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you're right, and it's good to clarify, like there's some things out there, I think we mentioned this before, that are a little bit harmful about unrealistic expectations and goals, and even the word goals I'm not that keen on these days. I just think if it feels right, that's what you go with. And if you do a board that just feels lovely when you look at it, surely that's better than looking at something that doesn't feel good. So, you create something that just stimulates, like you said, that feeling of excitement or whatever it is, and it's not that you have to have that thing or that house by the sea. It's more the feeling you get when you look at it, and potentially that might turn into that. But I think there's the mind and the creative, the creative juices, like you say, when you get those going, things start to happen, don't they? They really do. They're just, unfolding.
And I'm with you. I hate that bloody word, goals. Sorry, guys, I'm an Aussie and I'm going to say bloody. But I really do hate that word because I just think it's so for people who are really sort of got mathematical, who are very, is it the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the brain? But those sort of mathematical, organised people, they probably love goals. But for, arty-farty types, or for people that just don't want that structure, you just want to run a mile when you hear that word. And I just don't think it also it allows for sort of lateral things to happen if your goals are so stringent. Like this time, in a month, I want to have this happen, and then in 5 months, I want that to happen, and then in 5 years, this is going to happen. I think loose goals in terms of, I don't even like using the word there, but I think the better question to ask people would be, how would you like your life, what would your life look like in a really happy life that you would love?
Yeah.
What would it look like? What sort of, what sort of feeling would you have when you went to work?
Yeah, absolutely.
What would surround you? And I think it's more that. I think that's sort of getting into the feeling of, you know what, wouldn't it be great if I just woke up in the morning and leapt out of bed feeling like a kid? You know, couldn't start to go to work because it'd feel like play. That to me is not a goal. That's just an aiming for a feeling, and it's really joyful.
Yeah.
Joyful and triumphant.
Yes, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. But that's everything in life, isn't it? It's always about feelings, and I think the difference now is that we're really sharing as a nation, and that it's okay to share and talk about feelings, whereas before it was all closed off, and that's what you do, and you don't share your feelings, good or bad. And now we're kind of all, we're changing the way we view things. And you know, EFT of course is all about looking at the feelings that don't sort of support you anymore and trying to let go of those and bring in some ones that do support you, and therefore your community and the planet.
How many guys do you see, like in ratio to women? You know, say if you for every 10 women, would you see one guy, or what's your?
Yes, I'd say so. I'd say predominantly it is women that I see, but I'm not very good at statistics, Julie. But I do see men fairly regularly. And I really enjoy working with men, actually, more and more. And recently, I'll say this very quickly. I just had this guy who came who's booked a few sessions, and what a delight. You know, when you just get somebody who's open, ready, and willing, and I think you notice it more a little bit with a man because I'm at risk of stereotyping, I don't mean to be, but I think because I don't work with as many men, it's a really enriching experience to know that men are really working on their stuff. How about you?
Yeah, about the same ratio. And the same, you know, that I think more men are okay with seeking to, you know, improve their lives. Is that the right thing, or to, you know, get rid of this stuff?
Yeah, whereas absolutely. Yeah.
Oh no, I don't need help. I'm a guy.
Yes. Yeah.
But I've had the same experience. You know, really great when men are open. And, you know, not afraid to bawl their eyes out in front of you. You know, I mean, mostly what I find with EFT is, particularly initially, because people have been holding it in, it's like the floodgates open as soon as they just get any semblance of that feeling that EFT can give you, which is just total peace. It's such a relief. And the tears come. And, you know, I don't know, just in my experience with guys, they don't seem to hold back or look embarrassed.
No, it's great, yeah.
Have that experience at all. It's just maybe they've reached a point before they come to you that it's like, right, you know, I'm just going to let it all hang out.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and can I ask you, Julie, what have you had anybody in the last few weeks that you've sort of really gone, oh, that was really interesting, or that was really insightful, or because it's not always, you know, like we've said before, it's not always easy, is it, working on your stuff? And with some clients it might take a few sessions, with some you just realise that, you know, they've got in a better place. So would you like to share any of your experiences in the last few weeks?
One that comes to mind is a woman with anorexia.
Yeah.
I find it really, really interesting what doctors tell anorexic clients, and what's the sort of how society labels people with anorexia a lot of the time.
Yeah.
No, it's a self-indulgent thing, you know, and my answer to that is, who in their right mind would starve themselves to death almost? I mean, and if they are, in order to get attention, they really need help, you know, and it's not something you choose. It's like, you know, it's just interesting. Anyway, I've had quite a few sessions with this woman, and, you know, a really huge thing was shame.
Yeah, right.
And when it took a little while, it's all about control too. She felt like everybody was in charge of her, you know. Everybody was always looking at what she ate, and, you know, she just felt she was losing more. You know, the only way that she could actually have control was to eat exactly as little as she wanted or as much as she wanted, and she wouldn't listen to anyone else. You know, it had to be her thing. I just found it really interesting how it sort of unravelled, because at first she was quite cagey about not I didn't offer any opinions about it. It was basically just peeling off the layers to find out what was really going on for her emotionally. That would, to the extent that she'd be in hospital having to be on a drip a lot of the time.
Wow. Wow.
And she's absolutely divine and beautiful person, inside and out. And so we worked quite a lot with shame, anger, and control, just, tapping really gently on the issues as they arose. I didn't particularly thing. We'd just tap around and I'd say, what's coming up for you now? And she'd go, well, this really weird thing sort of popped into my head. And isn't that always the way with tapping?
It is, isn't it? Unraveling, like you say, unraveling the layers and just
And just, she said, I'm thinking about this thing like when I was about 13. And she said, I've never really thought about it. And I thought, I love EFT because it just, little bits bubble up to the surface, sort of been really creating havoc on the inside of you. So she's doing quite well. She's actually eating a lot more now. She's put on a little weight. And
fantastic.
She's decided to have a break. And I always find that frustrating. But, the person that you're working with, they have to lead it, They have to, particularly in this instance because of the control thing. If I said, no, I think you should come back for the next, for another few sessions, I didn't say that. And sometimes I do, depends on the relationship with your client. But I didn't say it because I thought she really has to have control here. And so I've just sort of texted her a couple of times to check in, and that's where she's let me know she's put on a bit of weight and everything. But I think that's one of the frustrating things about being practitioners sometimes. You just want to finish it. You want to take them right through to the end where you really know you've got rid of all the stuff that might come up again. I don't know. Are you ever in that position?
Yes, and I think it's a really good point to raise as well. That I think that's part of everybody's nature in a way, that we want to support somebody right through to the end, and it's their journey, isn't it? We're just lucky enough to be a part of that journey with them, and I think it's really important, and I really like the fact that you acknowledge that, because I've had the same actually with a girl also with an eating disorder, and we've done some sessions together and we've got so far, and she's having a break. And I think the great thing about having a break is, you call it a break, you call it, integration time or whatever, is you sometimes need that to start living your life, to experience how you are in your life after having the sessions. And sometimes people process, don't they, at different times. And I think what often happens, and sometimes the feedback I get, is when they have that break or that time away, it gives them the opportunity to also empower themselves with the tools that you've taught them, and also to go, okay, so this is how I'm feeling now. Instead of sometimes when you do back-to-back sessions, there's not that taking stock time, if you know what I mean, that time of, okay, this is where I was and this is where I am now. And I think it's really, really helpful. And you and I are not people who are pushy practitioners. I think we both kind of say to people, you know where we are. And although we know the benefits and we will support people, are you still there, Julie? Oh, I think I've lost you. I think I might have been talking to myself for a while. I think we might have lost contact. So what I might do now is I might say that we'll leave it there for today, because I think Julie's dropped out and trying to connect again. But we will continue with On the Couch, and we really enjoy sharing stories of challenges and of inspiration and of hope. And thank you for listening today, everybody, and we shall see you again on the next couch time. Bye.